Greetings, Sentinels fans! All in all, Definitive Edition is an improvement over Enhanced Edition. It's more streamlined, it's more fun to play, and all the heroes have had a good look through for improvements. I say this because I don't want to come across as critical to Definitive Edition in this video. I simply want to bring up a few changes that I will certainly miss. But sometimes a good thing must be sacrificed in order for a better thing to come up later. So, let's take a look at the bittersweet changes for Definitive Edition. Numbers 1 and 2. Let's start with one that I'm sure many of you have noticed. Haka's deck is not too much different from how it once was. The Hakas have been reworked a bit, and the Dance in the Fray is a welcome addition. However, we did lose Savage Mana and Ground Pound. I do kinda get those, though. First, Ground Pound. Effects that prevent damage were pretty strong to begin with, but the advent of fixed damage has only made them even more valuable, as fixed damage bypasses all other defense options except for this. So it is probably best to limit the cards that can ignore damage altogether. And let's face it, Hypersonic Assault and Heroic Interception are more well-known options. You'll also note that Wraith's Throat Jab has been removed as well. However, with Ground Pound, it is one of those cards where the effect doesn't fully link up with the flavor. I get that Haka is shaking the earth and putting everyone off balance, but one would think that would affect the heroes too and make it more akin to Cricket's sound masking, or have it deal area damage, like what Rampage already does. Now the removal of Savage Mana I do understand. Again, this is a weird one flavor-wise, as having Haka defeat a target and placing that target under this card is supposed to imply Haka getting energy by winning fights, but kinda ends up looking like Haka ate his opponents. Robot yummy! The new TAONGA Mana card does a similar job but fits its flavor better. However, the real kicker is that when Savage Mana takes a card, that card goes under Savage Mana, not the villain deck. If a villain has a habit of resummoning villain targets, like Boss's Forced Deployment, or Biomester's Recovery card, or Conquer's Gladiators, or La Capitan's Crew, or I really can go all day here. Or if a villain is reliant on targets in its trash, like Dawn or Blade, Savage Mana really messes up a lot of villains in a way that was probably never intended. So, for the sake of future-proofing game balance, I could see why it was changed. Scaling back for card number 3, we have a change in flavor text. The Enhanced Edition Cryo Chamber in Absolute Zero's deck says, "Better bored in here than dead out there." Sentinels doesn't have a ton of memorable iconic quotes, so it's good to maintain the ones that we have. But DE's Cryo Projector doesn't have this quote. Now the Freedom Tower's Cryo Chamber has a variation of the quote though. "Better comfortable in here than bored out there." It's not the same, but it is nice. Card number 4 is the Raptor Bot. Look at this guy, now look at that. Now look back at this guy, now look at that. This guy is better in every way, and I don't think there's any argument about that. This next one isn't a specific card, it's more of a general choice for a character. Harpy's Enhanced Edition deck has an extra rule where she plays a game with 5 tokens, denoting her focus towards arcane magic or avian abilities. I've seen some discourse from people who do miss this feature, though I myself don't. The new system is more chaotic, links up with her Matriarch's deck a bit more, and doesn't require additional rules outside of the cards themselves in order to play the character. I've also seen a similar discourse about the new setback. Some people liked the unlucky resource, but I think the ongoing cards fit a bit better. Moving on over to Ra, we have the Staff of Ra. Now the new Staff of Ra is pretty much better in terms of theming and in fun, as it boosts all its attacks by 1, and at your discretion, you can sacrifice the staff to double the fire damage dealt by an attack. It did come at the cost of basically the only defense that Ra had though. Oh sure, he still has Flesh of the Sun God, but that still works exactly the same way as it did in Enhanced Edition, so therefore it's still a really niche defense. The 3 points of healing from grabbing the staff in Enhanced Edition wasn't much, but it was something. This leaves Ra as, so far, the only hero with no defensive options. Wraith and Legacy can reduce damage, Absolute Zero and Fnatic can heal, Haka and Bunker can do both, Dakion can stop enemies from dealing damage, and Unity can redirect hits to the Stealth Bot. Playing as Ra means committing to burning and no looking back. And I think I'll end today's list by returning to Absolute Zero, specifically noting the absence of Sub-Zero Atmosphere. Now I'm not saying it was a good card, I hardly ever play it, but it was an interesting one. It forces villain effects to activate at the end of the turn to instead activate at the start of their turn, meaning that cards that are played that have end of turn effects will not activate immediately. instead having to wait until the villain's next turn to happen. It can be a nice stalling tactic for some effects. Do beware though, that if this card is destroyed during a villain turn, it loses its effect, so end of turn effects go back to the end of turn after having already activated at the start. So end of turn effects get to happen twice. Got to love the specific wording of the game. So yeah, I get its removal as it complicates things a lot, but it was an interesting effect. And I think that about does it. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Take care, friends.